Her value of the whole family. We came to a point in our relationship when we were still living in Utah where she was like, I hate the principle. I hate living this way. I hate this sharing. I hate feeling jealousy. I hate feeling these things.
It's too hard to watch you have these wonderful romantic relationships where I look at ours and it's struggling. I hate that. And to me, I'm just saying, look, I'm miserable. I'm jealous as can be. I didn't know that I would be a jealous person.
Hey everyone, back to my channel. You know what I love to see? A woman who takes charge of her life. I admire women who face challenges head-on, push through the tough times, and come out stronger. It's inspiring to watch someone take responsibility for their journey, work through their struggles, and find happiness on their own terms. Even better is when they use their voice to help others do the same. I always say, if you're part of the problem, step up and become part of the solution. Think about it. If you once encouraged a certain way of living, influenced others to follow it, and spent years telling people that polygamy was a choice that made families happy, then at some point you realize it's not what it seemed, you have a chance to make things right, especially when your husband, well, not legally your husband, just a man who had 6 kids with you, pushed you to support that lifestyle. When you've been on a show for nearly 17 seasons, promoting something that turned out to be damaging, it's powerful to use your platform to spread awareness and show women a different path. That's what I see happening with Christine. She's got a book coming out, and recently she shared a video on Instagram opening up about her struggles after leaving Kody. She spoke about how she felt during that difficult transition and the mindset she needed to stay positive. I can only imagine how hard it must have been to walk away from everything she knew, her faith, her community, and a belief system that told her leaving meant facing punishment. Women who leave are often called wicked or evil, and some are completely cut off from family and friends. For many, the fear of being shunned keeps them trapped. Christine had more support than most women in her situation, and she had more resources. But that doesn't mean it was easy. Many who leave face financial hardships, emotional distress, and an overwhelming sense of isolation. When your entire world revolves around a belief that leaving means losing everything, it takes incredible strength to break free. Christine's story is proof that there's hope on the other side. Polygamy has affected women in very different ways, and many are still trapped in that life with no clear way out. Christine's motives, as seen on her social media and in her upcoming book, suggest that she genuinely wants to help women recognize their worth, understand that they have a choice, and give them hope that there is a way forward. By sharing her story so publicly after years of being part of a show that promoted a toxic culture, she is taking a big step. It's admirable, but at the same time, it's a little conflicting. However, if her experience helps even one woman break free, then it serves a purpose. I was thinking about Christine's journey out when I recently got an email from Kristen Decker, her aunt. Kristen and I have been friends for 5 years, and I hear from her every so often, depending on what's going on in our lives. She left polygamy when she was 50 and is now in her 70s. For the past 2 decades, she has dedicated herself to helping women escape these environments, advocating for victims, and pushing back against the dangerous narratives that only got stronger. When Sister Wives became a hit show, whenever I get an email from her, it's often about another woman trying to escape polygamy, someone with no money, no home, and no resources, desperately trying to leave an abusive husband while protecting her children. These women have nothing. They have nowhere to turn. And when I compare their struggles to what Christine, Janelle, and Mary are going through, it highlights such a massive difference. It also presents a huge opportunity for them to use their platforms in a bigger way, to truly discuss the realities of leaving, the financial struggles, the backlash from family and friends, and the emotional trauma they've had to process. Psychologists often compare the trauma of women leaving these high-control religious groups to that of war captives. They've spent years, sometimes decades, with no real autonomy, controlled by someone else's rules, forced into a life they were told was the only option. When they finally break free, they don't just leave behind a marriage, they leave behind everything they've ever known. The trauma runs deep, and it takes years of work, therapy, and support to fully heal. Christine's story is one example, but there are so many more that still need to be told. Christine's recent post really got me thinking about the journey she's been on and how she's finding her way forward. Even without saying it outright, you can tell she's becoming more aware of her own growth and healing. When someone leaves an abusive relationship, whether it was emotional, verbal, financial, physical, or even sexual, their self-esteem is often completely shattered. It takes so much strength to rebuild. Christine shared that after her life changed so drastically, she felt lost, unsure of who she was or where she was going. But then, she focused on one word: enough. She said, "I'm enough just as I am, imperfections and all." That word became my anchor, reminding me that I didn't need to prove my worth. I already had it. It's really interesting that Christine's word is enough, while Mary's is worthy up. Do you see the connection here? There's still this subtle competition between the women, even in the way they choose to empower themselves and others. Christine didn't really start publicly embracing this journey until after Mary launched her Worthy Up movement. And this isn't about tearing her down. It's just an observation. It's as if they still feel like they need to prove something, not just to themselves, but to the world. But when you break it down, their chosen words reveal something much deeper. If Christine clings to enough and Mary to worthy, it tells us that for years they felt like they were neither. Kody made them feel unworthy, like they had to constantly prove themselves to earn his love. They were expected to suppress their emotions, ignore their instincts, and mold themselves into the ideal polygamous wives. They had to silence the voice inside them, screaming that something wasn't right. That deep, gut-wrenching feeling that said, "I shouldn't have to share my husband to get to heaven. I shouldn't have to endure this pain, this rejection, this emotional abuse." But in that environment, their pain was never validated. Instead, they were made to feel like they were the problem. They were told to be more patient, more obedient, more accepting. They had to constantly push down their own needs and emotions just to survive in a system that was never designed to value them as individuals. And that kind of emotional gaslighting takes a toll. When they finally left, they had to completely rebuild their sense of self. It wasn't just about leaving a marriage. It was about unlearning years of conditioning that told them they were never enough. They left broken. Even if they felt strong in the moment, leaving didn't make them powerful. It made them vulnerable. You don't go through years of emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical abuse without carrying deep wounds. The trauma doesn't just disappear the moment you walk away, but there's still this ingrained toxic positivity from their past where they focus on mantras, uplifting messages, and finding happiness on the other side. And while it's great to offer people simple, digestible advice on social media, something they can latch onto for hope, it's only one piece of the puzzle. What I haven't really seen from any of them yet is open discussion about therapy. There's little mention of trauma-informed care, cognitive behavioral therapy, working with professionals, or anything that acknowledges the deep psychological scars they likely carry. And to be clear, they don't have to share that. They have no obligation to disclose what they're doing privately to heal. But as Christine, Janelle, and Mary continue to use their platforms to connect with other women in similar situations, I hope they also highlight real resources that can help. Because while sharing their personal journeys is valuable, it's not enough for those still trapped with no way out. The sad reality is that there simply aren't enough resources for women trying to escape polygamy. There are very few nonprofits, shelters, or safe houses dedicated to helping them. Economic grants and financial aid are scarce, making it nearly impossible for some women to leave, even if they want to. The need for assistance in places like Utah is urgent. There just isn't enough funding to support those seeking freedom. It's heartbreaking when I hear from someone like Kristen Decker, who tells me about a woman desperately trying to escape, an abusive polygamous husband, but has nowhere to go and no money to leave. It's frustrating, and it highlights just how critical real support systems are. Raising awareness is important, but awareness alone won't put food on the table for these women. It won't pay for therapy. It won't provide a safe place to sleep. If platforms like Christine's, Janelle's, and Mary's can help lift the veil and bring more attention to these issues, my hope is that they also use their influence to connect women with the tangible resources they need to start over. Because inspiration is powerful, but action is life-changing. I'm not sure what Christine, Janelle, or Mary plan to do moving forward, but I hope they take a path similar to the women from Escaping Polygamy. They created Hope After Polygamy, a foundation that actively helps survivors by offering educational scholarships, resources, therapy links, and real tools to help them rebuild their lives. That kind of advocacy makes a direct impact. Right now, it feels like Christine and Mary are still in the early stages of their healing journeys. And that's understandable. When you leave trauma behind, especially an abusive environment, healing isn't quick. It takes years to unpack everything, and even then, you never fully recover. Christine has been out for 4 years now, and while that's a big milestone, it's still not long enough to say she's fully healed. That's why her book is both exciting and, in some ways, a little premature. 10 years from now, she might see things differently. Hindsight is always 20/20, and with time comes clarity. As she continues to grow, she might realize new things about her past, her relationships, and even herself. Right now, her message is focused on reclaiming her self-worth, which is powerful. But in the long run, I hope she expands her platform beyond personal reflections and starts providing real support for women who are still trapped in polygamy. The way Christine and Mary have embraced words like enough and worthy speaks volumes. Kody made them feel worthless, and now they're working to undo that damage. But if that's the takeaway, what does that say about the environment they lived in for so long? What does it say about the way TLC framed Sister Wives? This was a show that followed these women's lives for years, profiting off their struggles, their heartbreak, and their pain. And now, as they walk away shattered, they're left trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. So where were the producers and directors while all of this was happening? Why was their suffering turned into entertainment for so long? And why did the original producer, Tim Gibbons, walk away when he did? It raises a lot of questions about the ethics of reality, TV, and the responsibility networks have when documenting real-life trauma. Watching Christine and Mary reclaim their voices is inspiring, but it also serves as a harsh reminder of how much they endured before they reached this point. My hope is that they use their platforms not just to share their personal growth, but also to advocate for real change, because women still stuck in these situations don't just need inspiration. They need help, resources, and a way out. When the family needed him most, Tim Gibbons walked away. Once he saw that his vision of portraying polygamy in a positive light had failed, he abandoned the show instead of admitting his mistake. And let's be honest, TLC and the production company will never take responsibility for the damage they caused. My heart breaks for these women. As frustrating as they can sometimes be, they weren't truly living for themselves. They were living for Kody, following his rules, fearing his reactions, and relying on whatever resources he decided they deserved. Then, on top of that, they had to play a role for a television audience. Christine, for years, tried to tell us how unhappy she was. From season 1, when Kody brought in Robin, her pain was visible. Looking back now, it's clear. She never wanted this life. She was telling Kody all the way back in Utah that she hated polygamy. That was around 2005 or 2006. Yet she didn't leave until 2021. That's 16 years of living in a situation she despised. That's how long it took for her to finally walk away. That's how much strength it required. And to do it, she had to accept looking like a hypocrite, because for all those years, she publicly praised polygamy as a blessing when, in reality, she was suffering. Now that she's out, she's trying to help others, which is great. She's spoken about important topics like suicide awareness, and Janelle has as well. But when it comes to actively helping women leave polygamy, they're not quite there yet. And maybe they're not ready. Becoming an advocate means completely cutting ties with that world. It means becoming a threat to the polygamist community, and once that happens, you're no longer welcome. Christine isn't at that stage yet, and that's okay. Not everyone who speaks out has to become a full-time activist, but the work that true advocates do, the ones who are on the ground every day, helping women and children escape, finding them homes, food, education, and therapy, that work is vital. And unfortunately, those people have been deeply hurt by this show. There are individuals who were humiliated by the Brown family on Sister Wives, people who were genuinely trying to help. Take Christine's aunt, Kristen Decker. She wasn't Christine's enemy. She wasn't trying to destroy her family. She was trying to save her niece and her children from a life of pain. But at the time, Christine couldn't see it that way. When Kristen spoke out, Christine took it as an attack on her family. Even years later, when she addressed Kristen in the tell-all, she still seemed unsure about how to handle that relationship. She made it seem like her aunt was the problem. But here's the reality. Kristen Decker is still fighting for women today. Just weeks ago, she was searching for housing for a woman trying to escape polygamy. That's not the action of someone bitter or vengeful. That's someone who genuinely cares. And that raises an important question. Why is it that people like Kristen, independent journalists, and grassroots advocates are the ones doing this work, while those with massive platforms, like Christine and Mary, are still hesitant to take that step? Is it fear? Is it self-preservation? Or is it just a matter of time before they fully step into the role of helping others escape? A true and honest look at polygamy, one that cuts through the cult's propaganda, would expose the reality of this life. But are we really unsafe for speaking out? Even now, I'm still considered unsafe. Most of the family has blocked me, though not all. Hunter hasn't, and a couple of the girls haven't either. But for the most part, they still see me as a threat. They think I'm against their family, but that's not true. I'm against polygamy, and that belief still makes me an outsider in their eyes. That's how deep the cult programming runs. You can still hear it in the way they speak. Christina is making progress, but she's not fully out yet. When she's able to reconnect with the people who truly tried to help her, the family members who fought for her, that's when I'll know she's truly free. Healing from something like this takes time. A long time. But let's not forget, Kody made her feel worthless. What does that say about the culture she was trapped in? What does that say about the system that allowed it to happen? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. See you next time.